morning. Today is Wednesday. It is February the 16th. The year is 2022, and I'm back home. So I was in Miami for a few days. Went to go look at some commercial, multifamily real estate, and a couple of things that were down there. And there was just a lot of stuff going on. One particular home I went to go see. Got to the place and they had an open house going on. There were like 50 people standing outside there. And I was like, okay, what are all these people doing here? And so I've decided, at least for now, just to temporarily put that on hold. I was looking at some stuff down there, some multifamily units and some other stuff in some areas that were like Little Haiti and I think Miami Gardens, a couple other places. Some areas going through gentrification, and I think I'm not the only person who was thinking the same thing. So you got these houses and apartments. I mean, it was ridiculous down there. And I had an agent who was showing me around. I think he had a full-time job someplace else, so he wasn't quite available throughout the day. Then in the evening time, he'd be on a rip and run, and it's getting dark, and we're going into these questionable areas, and just something just seemed weird to me about that particular agent. I could be wrong, but he knew I was coming into town. I thought he had scheduled some days so we can look at this stuff, and I find it kind of odd that somebody's missing that MIA all day long, and then I was with clients all day. Yeah, you was with some clients all day over there. Would you like being a waiter someplace? Who knows? You get all these people who. I have over 20 years experience with real estate. I ain't stupid. I know how to purchase a home and apartments and condos and every damn thing else. What I needed in Miami was a tour guide, basically. Anybody could have drove me around the damn city and showed me stuff. And so I'll put that on, go back and revisit that again at a later date. But right now I'm back in Atlanta. The weather looks nice outside. It's not as nice as Miami. I think the sun is out, as you can see. It's the sun. The sun is shining bright coming in here, but you can see it's nice and bright out there. But I don't know what the weather's going to be like here today. Let me just check. It's getting up. That drive. I drove to Miami. The drive coming back was not so bad. I pulled my ass about it at 4 o'clock in the morning, hit that damn highway, and I got back here about 2:30, so it wasn't so bad. Versus when I left to go to Miami, I left a little bit later, and I hit Miami during rush hour traffic, and that was a nightmare on my way there. But coming back, I got on up and got here. And it wasn't such a drive, so I ran into a little bit of traffic once I got into the Atlanta area, but that was to be expected. And so today, it says it's 73 degrees in Miami. Things still stuck on Miami. I'm not in Miami no more. Atlanta's 48 degrees today. It's going to get to a high of 61 degrees, 64 by 3 p.m. Anyway, so I did my last video, and I was talking about the meth issues. It's weird when you go out of town and you meet people, and you talk to people, and you realize that I have a lot of clients and people who know me who live in Miami. In particular, I went to breakfast with a guy from my Instagram page. Yeah, we knew each other. We've known of each other, but we went out and got some breakfast. We just sat there talking. Had a great conversation, just about the community and issues that he's run into there in Miami. Same problems here. It seems for some odd reason you have a whole lot of individuals who are just. Sex has become a commodity in the black gay community, or I'm sure it's probably happening in the straight community too, where everybody, the only thing they can bring to the table in a relationship is their sexual capabilities, or they're sexually capable of, whatever it might be. And you have a lot of individuals who are pursuing an awful lot of sex, and they don't want to use condoms. Everybody wants raw sex, and it just seems odd, almost strange. Like, let's see, warm this coffee. But he's running into the same problem, meeting guys in Miami who they only want to have sex with him if he's willing to participate in raw sex or unprotected sex, which that's a dangerous proposition down there in Miami, or anywhere for that matter. But the HIV rates in Miami are sky high, kind of like Atlanta, but maybe even worse. So if you're in Miami and you're participating in unprotected sex, and even if you're on PrEP, good Lord, I can imagine the risk that you are just for sexually transmitted diseases, which are running wild. It's just odd to me. It's so strange that so many people would participate in such risky behavior with a complete stranger they don't know. I just find that very strange, and we were discussing that. He's decided just to be celibate because he couldn't find anyone in that area. He's a lot younger than me. I'm 52 years of age, so I told him you got plenty of time to find what you're looking for. You just don't rush into it. But I can imagine Miami looked like it was on a fast pace. I can imagine that Miami you got visitors coming in and out from around the world. It's a world-renowned city, so I can imagine there are thousands of people coming in there, coming to the Airbnbs, they're looking for sex or drugs, or who knows what they're coming down there for. I'm just going to the beach. Which I did make it to the beach for about 30 minutes before the sun came down and the wind blew our asses up off that ocean. This trip it wasn't a vacation, so I didn't really get to do the type of stuff I like to do. Plus, the weather was okay. One day they got up to 89 degrees when I was there. It was hot. I remember that. We got looking at the mountains. It was hot out here. But back to what I was saying about this young man. We were discussing this, and he was saying that he had given up on trying to find anybody. He was just going to be celibate for a while until he figured out what he wanted to do. Which I told him, ain't nothing wrong with that. Sit down, reevaluate your life, think about where you want to go. You know what's best for you. Why get yourself involved in situations that you know ain't going to work out for your best benefit? If you know that you don't want to be bothered with a bunch of STDs and you running back and forth to whatever health clinic they got down there in Miami or wherever you living at, then sit down someplace. So you don't have to participate in this shit these guys run around here with. I mean, it's ridiculous. Prior to meeting Earl, did I meet guys that said that they wanted to participate in raw and protected sex? Hell yeah. And I told them, that wasn't for me. This was 20-odd years ago, back in the 90s. Niggas were dropping dead like flies around there. Why the fuck would I get in bed with you and not use a condom and take the risk that you clean? You ain't got nothing. And then I ended up looking like a damn fool later on. No. And in many instances, nothing happened between me and that person because they didn't want to use a condom and they didn't want me to wear a condom. It just didn't work. So now it's got worse. Now you have so many guys, I'm on PrEP, I don't need to use a condom. Y'all better think about that. Those of you who are out there having sex, those of you who are out there participating in sex, and having sex with hookups or at sex parties and all this stuff, you better slap on a condom. I don't give a fuck how much PrEP you taking. You better protect your health. And the bottom line is so many individuals are positive within our communities. They don't give a fuck. They ain't got nothing to lose anyway because they've lost, as far as they're concerned, they don't care. But if you're negative, your goal is to stay HIV negative or not have any. There's more than just HIV out there. We all know that there's herpes. They got a bad case of herpes out there now too. Herpes, gonorrhea, syphilis. We all know these STDs. If you don't know them, Google STD and you'll learn about them. Hepatitis is running wild in these communities. My suggestion, Do what you need to do to protect your life, irregardless of what these people are trying to press you into. If you go into a club and your friends are going into a dark room and having sex back there, and that's something you don't want to do, don't do it. And begin to reevaluate the type of friends that you have. Now, I've had some guys I've met over the past few years who were not involved in this stuff at first, but now they're admitting to me, well, I went to a sex party, and I went this, and I went there, and I did that, where everybody was going. If everybody went and jumped off a fucking cliff, you gonna run and jump with they dumb asses? Common sense gotta kick in at some point and say, this ain't for me. I don't give a fuck what everybody else is doing. You better think about your life and your well-being and your health. Fuck what everybody else is doing. In fact, and if you're around a group of people who are trying to pressure you into doing high-risk behaviors, sexual conduct without condoms, sex parties or dark rooms or sex orgies or all this sex shit that this is starting to get ridiculous. You have to ask yourself, do you want to be friends with these people? You know, one thing I did do in the early 90s, when my friends were running around doing all them drugs and stuff, I said, okay, enough. I had sense enough to say, let me separate myself from them. In fact, I was roommates with a friend of mine named Robert Harris. And Robert Harris Robert's dead now. So we were roommates. We lived in this place called the Arts in the Towers. And I'll never forget that because I love the Arts in the Towers. I love where we lived at, but I couldn't stand Robert's behaviors. Robert would have people running in and out of the house. He was trying to do drugs. It was just craziness. So one day I went and found me another apartment on my own and tell his ass shit. Called a moving company, and that day I said, I'm moving. He's like, are you moving? I said, yeah, I cannot deal with this. And the day he found out the day I moved my shit out of there and left. And we got my own place. He let him figure that out on his own. I had talked to him about that shit. He wasn't going to change. I got the hell on. When I saw him doing drugs in that unit that I lived in, I moved. I said, okay, this boy ain't doing coke. In this place, I said, I'm not doing this. They sitting there, they're trying to hide it from me because I'm like, Walter, well, I live here. I see what you're doing. I got the hell up out of there and fast. I did it to protect me. I was tired of the bullshit. I didn't want to be around all that mess. I wasn't doing drugs. I wasn't running around fucking anything. It was ridiculous. And I said, you know what? Let me distance myself. And then at that time, we had other friends who lived in the building with us who were doing all the same thing. And I said, okay, I can't deal with this. This is not for me. So let me get on the fuck away from these motherfuckers. Got me a moving company, got my own one-bedroom apartment by myself. This is when I began to separate myself. This was like 1992. This is in 1992. I started separating myself from them. And when I separated myself, I made a clean cut. I didn't deal with Robert no more. I would see Robert, hey, what you do? He called me, oh, I'm doing okay, I'm busy, I'll call you back. I had to separate myself. That was when me and Robert's friendship began going separate ways. We were still friends. But I couldn't deal with all that bullshit. The drugs, the sex, the partying, the drinking, enough. And when I got my own place, it was peaceful. Not too soon on after that, in 1993, I bought my own home. By myself. I was living there alone. So that, I've learned the most peaceful times of my life when I was dealing with just me. Because I'm not going to harm Walter. I'm not going to put myself in harm's way. Every time there was always, look, I keep telling you about locking these doors and keeping these niggas out. I've learned that when I live alone or when I'm by myself, it's so much more peaceful. And I don't have to fight and argue with myself. That's not going to happen. I'm not telling myself, you need to be doing some coke and crack. Ain't like everybody else, coke and crack and mollies and we eating edibles. No, well, I don't want to eat an edible. I had me some coffee. I might have me a block and cranberry. That's about it. But like I said, I have to do what's best for me. And I strongly suggest that those of you who are watching this video, you have to do what's best for your life. Fuck everybody else. I don't care if it's your mother, brothers and sisters, the cat, the neighbor, the post office. You got to do what's best for you. And I just found over the years, I make better decisions by myself. Like this trip I just made to Miami, it was peaceful. It was just me. Drove on down there, looked around, realized, okay, this ain't working. And get my ass back to Atlanta. Because I was supposed to stay there a little bit longer. I said, yeah, this is not working. Let me get my ass on back to Atlanta. I'll come back here at a later date. See, easy. Get my car, came on back home. I didn't have to argue about it. But we gonna stay here to so and so. No, I'll be leaving. Grab my shit up, threw it in the back of that BMW, and headed back up the highway. Left there at 4 o'clock in the morning. Made life easy. Now I'm back here sitting on my couch. Now, sex. You meet somebody you like. You want to have a relationship with this person. They don't want to use condoms. They like raw sex. They want raw. What do? You better ask yourself a couple of questions. How long have I known this person? What type of relationship are we planning on having? Is this a monogamous relationship? How long do we plan on being together? Is this a fly-by-night something? Are we just getting to know each other? You better ask yourself a lot of questions before you make that decision to toss those condoms in the trash can. Be careful. We live in a day and age that you might not be the only person they were having raw sex with. They might be having raw sex with a lot of other people. So just ask yourself, before you hop in bed with them, you may want to ask yourself, before I go do this, maybe sit and have a conversation with that person. Because I know a lot of these folks say, I ain't looking for no relationship, but they want to fuck raw. You don't want a relationship, but you want to have raw sex. This is kind of, myself personally, speaking from my own personal experience, when I had sex with people, I preferred condoms. It was safer, easier, it just felt a whole lot cleaner afterwards. Myself. I ain't never had a problem with condoms. I don't like to use condoms. I'm like, you don't like to use condoms? I love condoms. Think there was a barrier of protection between me and the person I was having sex with. What was the problem with that? I never saw nothing wrong with it myself personally. But again, I'm talking about me. Y'all can do whatever the fuck you want to. That's your asshole and dick. Do whatever you want to do with it. You might want to wrap it up and protect it. You only got one. But anyway, as I was sitting at that restaurant and that young man was talking, it just brought up a lot of memories about me separating myself back in the 90s from a group of people that didn't have my best interest at heart. And I just had to separate myself. No one should be pressured into doing something you don't want to do, whether it's unprotected sex or drugs or partying or drinking or whatever. I've just found that the more reckless people you surround yourself with, the more reckless and endangered your life is in. That drinking and driving and I lost one of the first guys I ever dated. I died in a car wreck leaving from the clubs Memorial Weekend 1993 that I just bought that house. Derek. And Derek was leaving that club with my friends, Robert and them. He was hanging with them. After I warned him, he listened. Left the club, drunk as a skunk. They allowed him to get in that Suzuki Sidekick. And that car turned over to that highway. And they tried to get him out of that car. He was drunk. He went up on something, the car turned over. As they tried to get him out of that Suzuki, a truck came along. And they ran away from the truck and it hit him and it killed him in that car. I warned him to stay away from him. That night, his parents were in town for a family reunion. I'll never forget this shit. It was Memorial Weekend, 1993. He died that weekend. And his parents had just got here. It was at that hotel. At the Marriott downtown. I never forgot this shit. Now, had this man had his ass at home and sat out there in the street with them fags, he'd be alive today. That's just how I see it. But he went out on Memorial Weekend with them motherfuckers. And when they left that club, they knew Derek was drunk as a skunk. And they should never have put him behind the wheel, allowed him to get behind the wheel of that car and drive that car, but they did, because they didn't give a fuck. They didn't care. Well, that was years ago, right on the bridge. So, my suggestion to you all, when it comes to dealing with these guys, whether gay, straight, black, white, think about your own life. and you better do what's best for you. Good example, these realtors down there, I met a couple of real estate agents. Everybody's pushing, do this, let me show you this, show you that. But this is not what I'm interested in. This is not what I want. So I came my ass back home. Okay, guys, this is not working out. I haven't seen anything that I wanted. And real estate agents kind of have this pressure tactic, like, well, this is the only thing on the market. So fucking what? I'll wait before I buy something I don't want. Not that crazy. But anyway, today is Wednesday, February 16th. The year is 2022. I got stuff I need to do. I'm sitting here later than I thought. It's already 9:30. I already got here. But anyway, I'm back in Atlanta. Yeah, I made it back safely. No incidents on the highway. Rode back here safely. Put on my music. Came on up the highway. Had my little seat massager on, massaged me the whole time. My car drives itself. That's one thing about the cars that I have. They had a self-driving feature. I turn that shit on. And all you can do is just keep your hands on the steering wheel. And that shit, you just don't fall asleep. And then you get you on down the road. I wasn't going to sleep because I was listening to my music. I had my news radio on. I had my coffee. Dropped off the exit a couple times. I did get off the exits a couple times to peak. I had that blood pressure. Ooh, Lord, I think I must have hit every rest area coming down that highway. I am not lying. Every time I saw a rest area, I had my ass off and get to pee. Ran back out, better than pee. Ran back, get back in the car, drove back off. I hit every rest. I had no choice. I left the battery at 4 o'clock in the morning, and that blood pressure medicine was still kicking in on it. And I come down that highway. I had that coffee, water, and I even drink a Red Bull. I think fast I drink that Red Bull, I had to get off the next S&P. Anyway, I made it back safely. So I got stuff I need to do. Today is Wednesday, February 16th. I hope y'all had a happy Valentine's Day. I didn't. I was in Miami by myself. Anyway, I'm out of here. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and I will speak to you all later.